I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know.
All right. Well, you can stop talking about that rash. We are live.
Listen, my rash doesn't go away just because we go live, Corey.
In some ways, it's more present than ever. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tapcaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast that is brave enough to talk about Young Jedi Knights, Jedi Bounty. I am today's host, Corey, and joining me, as always, is my effortlessly efficient co-host, Mr. Justin EckhartsLadder. How are you doing?
That one wasn't great.
Just because I can't pronounce
What the fuck?
just because I can't pronounce words doesn't mean it's not a good
Did you swallow a Lowbacca furball there, bud?
No, I'm just trying to fit in with how stuff gets written in the ebooks here, where just the typos ruin everything. See, I'm tying it all
Yeah.
back together.
Speaking of typos, how about this name for the book, by the way? It's called today we'll be talking about Jedi, what is it called
It's
again?
called Young Jedi Knights, Jedi Bounty.
Jedi
Uh,
Bounty.
I don't know
No
why.
Jedi Bounty in this book.
I don't know if it's because no, I'm not. I can't
There's no
defend
Jedi
this.
Bounty. There's none.
There's some Jedi, there's a bounty, but this is the least present the bounty has been out of the last three books.
And the bounty's not on the Jedi, so it's
Not
like
yet. I used to like, oh, are they going to put a bounty on Zek? Is that what Boba is doing with his talking with Nula'a? But
Jedi's bounty would make more sense.
rescue at Ryloth would make more sense.
Rescue Ryloth, yeah.
There we go. So
Got that beautiful alliteration.
last time we talked about how the Diversity Alliance was trying
Hold
to
on.
poison everyone.
Are we not going to talk about other news before we start this?
Is there other news? Is there anything else going on in the world of
We had
Star Wars
Visions
beyond?
come out.
Well, is that more important
Visions
than
trailer.
is that more important than Young Jedi Knights Jedi Bounty?
More important, I can't say that, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth a discussion because
Okay.
I haven't actually picked your brain on this. So, for those who don't know, Star Wars Visions is an upcoming. I think they said September or was it October? Anyway, later this year. Anthology series, which will have, I think it's 10 or it's 10 different short animes or animations, each by a different style. There's a couple of production studios who are doubling up, so I think there's 8 studios in total. It might be 7 and 9, I can't remember, but yeah, it
That's
should
a
be.
that's a Star Trek thing. 7 of 9.
I mean, so is 2 of 10, right? Like, isn't it?
I assume there's everything of everything, but
Mhm.
I'm not familiar enough with Star Trek to
It's like the Borg,
know.
isn't it? Like, it's like
Yeah,
this is the
and
second of
7 of 9
the.
is the one who became good, I think.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I don't watch Star Trek.
well,
I should.
then why are we doing a Star Trek podcast?
Yeah, Holotable Transmissions isn't, or Holodeck Transmissions, terrible name in hindsight.
We can workshop it.
We'll think about it.
So yeah,
Hey,
there are nine episodes
mhm,
by
7 studios, I think, because there's 2 that are doubling
yeah,
up.
Trigger and Science Arc are doubling up.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, what are your thoughts on it? Like, did you watch the trailer we got and whatnot?
Yeah, I thought it all looked pretty cool. I know the big controversy has been whether it counts as canon or not, and no, they
So
won't be
it
part
does.
of the main canon. But like, it looks really cool. So who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it's like there's 2 Sith lords cutting apart a Star Destroyer, and it's like these fucking mouth breathing fans. No offense. Like, is this gonna be canon or not?
I think it's a fair question to ask. I just think being invested in the
No, I know.
outcome of that question is that's where you kind of lose me.
Well, I don't know. Like, I agree that the question is important, but it's like, so we get the details for Ronin today, which is the tie-in novel for the Duel, I think it is. And the line, like, if you go to the StarWars.com page, the description is like, it doesn't say it basically says in an alternate universe in different words, and then it says for the description, it's like the Jedi serve the Empire, and people are like, this can still fit into canon. It's like, why does it matter? Like, And like if it were one or two people, that'd be fine. But like my problem with this
It's
is
the
like
only thing anyone cares about,
it's the
seemingly.
only topic of
Yeah.
discussion. It dominates it totally, and it's like it's just awful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit annoying.
Hmm.
Well, that and the questions of like, is the double Star Destroyer going to be put in Thrawn's Revenge? Like, no, it's not. Stop it.
Wait, why not?
Not canon. It's just a big cannon. More canon than anything really has a right to
Yeah,
be.
fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. I
Yes.
forgot about strict adherence to lore. But yeah,
Do you want to model it?
I mean, take two Star Destroyers,
It's not that simple.
put them side to side,
It's not
and
that simple.
then
You got to
for the
model a
middle you
cannon
could
too.
use what?
You got to model the middle thing. You got to
I mean,
cut
there's
up the
got to be
lines.
something that exists that you could use for the middle thing.
Not just
Take
gonna
the
kit bash everything. You need to make
yeah,
it
take
match
that
the
little.
texture.
You know how you've got the back of the Praetor, like that thing on its like the sleeping
Yeah,
bag
but the
roll?
texture's never going to match with that. You still need to redo that part. Then you need to rebake the AO.
You can rebake these fucking nuts.
I knew you'd fucking just go there. The second you start losing a discussion or losing an argument, just bring out the juvenile humor, and I'm sick of it.
I don't think it would be that much work. I've seen how quickly you all pump things out. Now, would it be worth it? Hey, I'm not going to argue that because the answer is probably no.
Yeah, we can do everything. It's just we can't do everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
We can do any one individual thing, but you try to put that all together.
I know a dedicated Corey Losers modeler could pump that out in 3 hours.
A dedicated Corey Losers modeler.
Corey Loses modeler, TRT modeler. Pump that out in 3 hours for sure, right?
Yes. Okay. And it's here now.
And as you were doing it, as you started bitching at me, I actually got it done.
Just to shut you up. Well, I basically did that with instant action.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that started.
Except that was actually a good idea.
Yeah. It was bound to happen eventually.
All right, let's talk about the actual book unless there's any more news. And considering the fact that you were ready to just jump over the news section, I don't think there is.
I'm just so excited to talk about this book.
This one was a bit of a letdown for me, I think.
Yeah, it was okay. I didn't dislike it, but it just felt like there wasn't much going on that really ended up mattering because like they go to rescue Lowbacca. Last time Lowbacca went to Ryloth, which is where the headquarters of the Diversity Alliance is. The Diversity Alliance is like planning to unleash a plague. That's why they're looking for Raynar's dad. But Raynar's dad doesn't really show up in this, so that plot doesn't really get forwarded at all. It's just the Young Jedi Knights go to get Lowbacca from Ryloth, and Lowbacca's like, "Yeah, I was already kind of out on this, but thanks for coming."
Yeah, I enjoyed, and it's weird too because it seems like the twins and Raynar and that's kind of the lead and Tenel, that's sort of the least interesting plot in this book because they're gonna get out like.
Yeah, all they really do is go get captured again, and then they get
breaking
broken
in's
out.
not that interesting. It's basically what happens in Crystal Star again. Well, not the breakout, but like the actual being captured and stuff. Like it's kind of like Crystal Star again. It's not that interesting, and like I much would have preferred if we spent more time with like Lowbacca, kind of slowly learning like this shit's kind of whack, and even like with Zek, I think could have used more time as well.
Yeah. Zek is coming out of his bounty hunter phase where he's starting to realize like, oh, being a bounty hunter is kind of not what I want to do.
Boba Fett doesn't care if all of humans in the galaxy die. He doesn't know that, but he doesn't give it two thoughts about like the morality, and I do. So probably not going to be a good bounty hunter.
You mean Island Val?
Yeah, right. Island Val.
But right. Yeah, it's an easy mistake to make because the book does repeatedly call her Boba Fett, and it's not until a retcon 12 years later where, yeah. But anyways, there's really the only thing that actually happens with the twins and that group is Jaina gets more opportunities to be annoyed by Raynar because he is in fact a useless person.
Yeah, and he gets paired off with her later on too, which is kind of funny because it's like Jason and I almost said Tahiri. Jason and Tenel Ka are like together, and they're like forced to friggin' snuggle together for warmth. And it's Jaina just like hating her life in the sun.
Yeah, so we get further development of the Raynar and Lusa romance that's budding when
Described
Raynar,
as being naked many times. Sorry.
yeah,
I didn't mean
and
to interrupt.
then Jason and Tenelka get to cuddle a little before they
Mhm.
find a disheveled old Twi'lek who ruins it
Hmm.
for them. Here, take some animal hide and eat some of this gel meat.
I don't know if we should trust this guy. Just got like a maniacal grin on his face, just like nodding his head, like yeah.
Well, we do find out that the Diversity Alliance and NOLA specifically kind of took over Ryloth through unconventional means
Hmm.
and is like diverting a lot of the money towards this from their very savory real core mining towards the Diversity Alliance. So that's how they're paying for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that stuff is actually kind of interesting too, seeing like how the Diversity Alliance actually worked. I mean, it does kind of just like with the Second Imperium, it does kind of like strain credibility a little bit that like this one faction of like kind of poor Twi'leks could grow this large and threaten the galaxy. But I mean, that's just kind of like what the stories are like
Yeah.
um, in the series.
But so one of the things that was weird to me about this is like it's so important that Bornenthal tell people about the virus and what's going on, and also the information that Tachum found out about like how the Diversity Alliance deals with defectors. And it's
Hmm.
supposed to be this big thing. It's like, oh, once their followers find out about this, that'll be it for them. But then Lucy's like, oh yeah, they my buddy got eaten in front of me. We all
Like yeah,
knew that
there's a
happened.
Trandoshan who's like kind of a dick. Like he's trying to kill every Wookiee that we've brought. So like,
Yeah, like
it's like not
the
a huge surprise.
they eat the ones that ran away, the Taos,
Hmm.
and they seem to want to eat between the Taos and is he a Shistavanen or is he one of the shadow things?
The Wolfman.
Yeah, is he a
Like
Shistavanen?
her, yeah, he's
Yeah,
just a man.
okay.
At least, yeah, I think they call him a wolf man.
So yeah, he's they're both they just want to eat everything. And
Yeah,
we find out like, yeah, everyone kind of fucking knows that, and it's not a huge secret. Maybe not
no,
like outside of the organization directly,
inner
but
sanctum on, yeah, because we
there's
are just seeing the kind of inner circle on Ryloth as well.
well,
But I don't know
when that
on
Bothan
the
goes
maybe not.
after when the Bothan goes after Lusa, he's like, "I need everyone to know you were murdered by me, the Diversity Alliance hired assassin." It's like,
Yeah.
so everyone knows what happens if you cross us. Like, this is how is this really helping you? This is
Mhm.
really undermining the image you want to project to the galaxy.
Yeah, and I mean, they're also getting. I mean, they're a bit heavy-handed too with the fact that like they're blaming. Uh, I don't know how I felt about the sort of real world kind of implications of some of the things in this book. Like
Yeah.
part of me was like, I don't think it's meant this way, but it can be like, oh, you're blaming white people for. Did you get any of that? You know what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say?
like the point that was trying to be made by this book is, or by this plot line as a whole, is like not great.
It's like, yeah, because it's like, and this is gonna sound racist, but it's not. It's like whenever people tell like minority groups just like don't be poor, like it's ignoring the fact that they've been fucked over for generations and whatever else. It's like don't be poor because in this like Chewbacca is thinking like, hey, like Wookiees, we did whatever, like we're strong, like we can handle it, we don't need to blame other people. And like it's true that having a diversity alliance which is trying to kill all other species in or all humans in the galaxy is probably not epic, but like on the other hand it's also not like humans didn't do anything wrong.
It's not even like it still it sets it up as if the point of these groups is like retribution for the oppressor group rather than
Mhm.
something needs to be done about the situation that the oppressed groups are in, and that involves having to acknowledge what's gone wrong in the past and actually address the issues rather than just say, "Oh, but we're not the empire anymore, so everything's fine."
Yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of stupid to set up like the only group that is really trying to do anything about that is like they have to jump straight to actually we're trying to kill all humans. But then
Yeah.
it removes like any ability to discuss like, oh, what if they actually have a point? Because it's just like, oh, the end goal here is just going to be to shut them down because they're trying to kill everyone, and then act like, ah, but we're not the empire, so everything's fine.
Yeah, it's almost like a bit of a straw man in a way, I guess. In that sense where it's like you're setting up the one person who's bringing this issue up as like the fanatical xenophobe
Yeah.
or humanophobe. I don't know.
Yeah. Like it.
I don't know. Just like I've seen these Twitter arguments before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like parts of I was reading parts. I was like, I've
Literally
seen these
every
arguments.
comment on the prior video is like, I know these groups from real life. Like, no, you fucking don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you know, like this is basically Diversity Alliance as described by Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, it's like when somebody asks to hire one black person in your organization, it's like crazy. But I don't know. It's I guess part of it is like it's a kid's book, so like maybe it's not the right avenue, but it's also if given that effect that it is a kid's book, you'd think you could kind of handle it a bit better because this is something important. You can teach kids, especially like through Star Wars, where it's a bit, I guess, easier for them to get interested in stuff.
Mhm. I mean,
Yeah.
they've always had. By writing this, you are essentially trying to send some sort of message. What is the message you're trying to send?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what
Yeah.
was the purpose that prompted you to write this as the books?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like I don't know. Even if you don't go too far into it, it's like at this point, there's been like no discussion, even from like Jason and Jaina, that like yeah, humans like the aliens. You know the way they're going about it is wrong, but they do have a reason to be kind of tired of like human shit in the galaxy. You know what I mean? It's like obviously what they're doing is wrong, and like way wrong, but it's still like you got to kind of understand why the average like alien on like Mon Calamari or whatever is finding the idea of standing up against oppression kind of nice. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, clearly the people who are joining it aren't like in on the eradication of humans or the eating defectors.
Yeah.
They don't know about that until Bothan Assassin gets off his hit on the centaur girl on the jungle moon. Then everyone will know what they're really about. And apparently that's what they want. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting though. What else would you like to have seen from this book, or what parts did you like? I guess because I mean it's still got the hallmarks of the Young Jedi Knights books. We got they're camping at the beginning for some reason. It's
Yeah,
just
like,
like
and they just slice down that creature. You'd think Jason would want to get like a huge
yeah,
life-sized pen for him.
yeah, that was a bit weird. So at the very beginning, the whole crew is out camping, kind of worrying about Lowbacca, um, and they get attacked by basically like a small tiger or something, and they just like chop into three bits. Like I expected Jason to give at least a single shit about that, but
Yeah.
he's pretty much good with it.
Yeah, we're already jumping forward to Legacy of the Force Chase.
One thing that I would have really liked, actually, and this is one of the notes I had. So there's a section where Kennel Claw is being kind of beaten up by the Shistavanian Wolfman, and I thought it would have been really interesting for Jason to
Beat her up
force
too.
choke him
Oh.
or something.
No, I don't think. I think that it kind of undercuts how he does become a Sith Lord if he starts like just force choking people that early.
Yeah, but I mean, he's seeing like his maybe not a force choke, but something. He's seeing like his girlfriend get like the crap smacked out of him. They're in like a desperate situation. I don't know. I would have
But
liked to see something, I guess. And
the
then he
thing
can deal
that,
with it in the next books.
well, the thing that just makes me more interested in like Jason's dark side dealings than Jaina's is that Jaina would be the one who does that, or Zach, and we already
Mm,
kind of had that.
mm.
And with
Yeah,
Jason, it's
exactly.
like he's so empathetic when he's growing up. Like he would
Mm-hmm.
never think of doing that at that point. But then he gets into this like the broader implications of what he's doing. He applies it too much in the Yuzon Vong War of like he's unwilling to fight the Vong at all despite what they're doing
Mm. Yeah,
because
I
he
forgot
doesn't
about
want to
that.
do that to living things and he thinks like, oh, it's all part of the Force. I can't do that. But then he gets like through Vergier such a bird's eye view, he becomes disconnected from the
Bird's eye
individual.
view.
Yeah. And that's how
Mm.
it turns into him being like, oh, now I must make people suffer to prevent the greater suffering, and like just loses the plot. But
Yeah.
I don't think he can start off with that kind of thing, or else
But
that's
I
too
mean,
Anakin or Jaina.
I don't know because Jason, like his turn to the dark side is partially because he's worried about his daughter
Yeah,
and
but
Tenel
that's kind
Ka.
of that's the end point, and like he still has those connections when he's looking at his like
Hmm. Yeah, I
detached.
suppose I see where you're coming from.
I think if you try to throw in like you can see points of like it makes sense where he's coming from, like where he ends up from stuff that happens in here, and especially during like the early parts of the Yuuzhan Vong War. And like I think we get enough hints at like this is how someone like him could become what he became with
Hmm.
as Darth Caedus later on, without having it be so explicitly uh, using dark side force powers that early, which I think works for Jaina. Like if it's Jaina, I
Yeah.
think she'd absolutely do it because with her it's more the in the moment passion and anger, whereas Jason has a very different path to the dark side.
Yeah, I guess my issue is like these kids are all powerful, really, basically for their age. They're always in traps, but they always have the force to rely on. But we haven't really seen this temptation yet. We haven't seen any of them kind of like learn this lesson, which is kind of a crucial lesson in Star Wars. That is one thing I think is kind of missing from the series. So whether it's you might be right that Jaina would be a better option. But I don't know. At one point, kind of, I'm waiting for it to happen because we do see it with Zek a little bit, but he's not the same character that the main ones are. Um, yeah.
Yeah, like I can understand like him just trying to fight the person, but I don't think dark side powers would be his jam just yet. Not until Dark Nest, when like there's no such thing as dark side powers. There's only powers Luke can use and look temporarily like Emperor Palpatine, and that's not a problem.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just like at one point, even a good person, you push them far enough, they're gonna lash out, especially
Yeah,
when they're like these fully powerful, kids, and they haven't got that much training yet. Like they've gotten some, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
yeah. Like I'm reading Dark Nest now at the same time as reading these because I just finished NJO, and I forgot the Dark Nest books were all like 600 pages each. It's a lot,
Yeah, they're long.
but it is interesting seeing like all of these characters simultaneously in both time periods, including
Mhm.
Raynar, because Raynar plays a big role, a bug role in Swarm War as well.
Yeah, he gets bug faced. Well,
Gets a lot
not
more
faced, but
powerful. Like the whole bug thing really worked out for him compared to where he was
mhm.
in Young Jedi Knights.
No, I agree. Yeah, he's an interesting character. We talked about this bit last time, but he's pretty relevant until Fate of the Jedi, really. So
Yeah.
he's in a coma or something for a while. I think, from what I remember, he's kind of out of the spotlight for Legacy of the Force because I think he's in like Force jail or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of the joiners end up in like uh
They're in the Jedi
supervised
Temple, I think.
custody for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
I always forget he's alive. Like he's
Hmm.
just there.
Yep, just chilling like a villain for
But
a while.
one of the things that I do like about this book that has been pretty consistent through all of them is that we do get a decent sense of like the characters and the relationships between
Hmm.
all the young Jedi Knights, although that has gotten like hornier and hornier as they go along.
It has, hasn't it? Especially like you get the half naked horse lady running around. You get Jason looking for any excuse to like touch Tenelka.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's realistic though. Like for kids, it's been 10 books or whatever. It's appropriate, I
Yeah.
think. Um.
Well, there was like a good chunk, like the first 10% of the book was just Raynar and Lusa, like Raynar feeling weird and getting touched by Lusa.
Just
Then Jaina's
staring at her.
giving him
Yeah.
a wink, conspiratorial wink.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite part of this book, though, was at the end. And did you did you do the audiobook for this, or were you doing the
No,
ebook?
I did the audiobook for like half, and then I read the rest.
Okay, so my favorite part is when they do the preview chapter for the next one,
Mm-hmm.
and the next one's called The Emperor's Plague. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but it because of however this got transcribed, it does the thing where it like alternates the text that's like
Mm-hmm.
sarcastic text on the internet. So I was just picturing Emperor's Plague with like the SpongeBob meme.
Just like squat like
The
the.
Emperor's Plague.
uh, can't even kill a whole planet. Last 5 minutes and they die.
Yeah, it's not a very good effective strategy. But there's so many
Yeah.
rescue attempts that end up just doing the same thing. Like Luke comes at the same time that Luke comes at the same time that like Loey comes to save them, and they end up
Mm.
flying out together.
Yeah.
Loey already realized he needed to leave, and probably would have been able to leave on his own more quietly without them being there. But I guess they did expose that
Yeah.
Raba was lying or was
Yeah.
willing
And
to
now the New
lie.
Republic also knows kind of how shady this shit all is.
Yeah, but at that point, Luke would have already knew, or he would have been
Mm-hmm.
told, and then they were kind of everything that was going on here had a bunch of ways it could have happened and did happen simultaneously. So
And I think the next book is the conclusion of this arc, isn't it? Because I think it's called the Emperor's Plague, right? The next one.
yeah,
So I think
were there
they'll go
three
destroy it.
arcs?
I think it's 2 arcs. Then I think some of the last ones are standalones, but I can't
Okay,
remember.
because
Um,
this is number 10.
I think we've got 4 left, right?
Yeah.
Kind of sad.
Trouble at Cloud City, Crisis at the Crystal Reef.
Mm-hmm.
I always get those conflated. I
Mm-hmm.
always think it's Crisis at Cloud City because I like the alliteration. There's Return to Ord Mantell as well. And what's the other
But when were
one?
they at Ord Mantell? Have they been to Ord Mantell?
They were at Ord Mantell. Forget what. I think it was the one before. Which one was it? Was it on Shards of Alderaan?
Can't remember. Remember they went to Mechas. I can't remember Ord Mantell.
Yeah, we got Emperor's Flag, Return to Ord
Oh, are they
Mantell,
gonna
Trouble on
see
Cloud City, and Crisis at
Nugtosh
Crystal.
at Ord Mantell?
He's on Malastare, isn't he?
Oh yeah, shit. He's on
Come
Malastare,
on,
right?
man. Just like
Fuck
get it together.
sakes. Fucking embarrassed.
So, do we think they pull Rabba out? Is Rabba going to be pulled
Yeah,
out? We
but I
find
think
out
she's
she
probably gonna
has.
disappear. I think
Yeah.
she's gonna have to kind of. I think she'll need to go on sabbatical for a bit. She need to find herself. Maybe return to Kashyyyk and make some amends.
Yeah. Yeah. There's really not.
Yeah, it was a pretty. This book needed a bit more. It's probably one of my least favorites because it's the story we've had with Jason and Jaina before. We spend too much time focused on them. We don't get enough kind of hanging out before. Like we don't. Like even a little adventure beforehand would have helped.
Yeah. Like we
Like
get
the
some
previous.
development for Lusa with like Raynar getting mauled, where she's kind of coming out of her programming from the Diversity Alliance, and
Mhm.
Zek kind of compares it to the Shadow Academy. So they kind of come together, but there's very little time for them where they have like one page together where they're like, "I don't trust you, I don't trust you," and Luke's like, "I think if we look inside ourselves, we'll see we can trust each other." And like, sorry, and then they fly off to save them.
Yeah, that was. He's like, you guys can use the Force to tell someone's lying, right? And they're like, dope. And then,
Well, we did have a major character death here with the Shistavainen who falls into the lava. So he's dead now.
mm,
Havrock's dead. He's not coming back.
yeah,
Now Krosk is going to come up, and he's going to be the new big bad in town, I think.
yeah, because he survives. He has the rocks fall on him, and he survives.
I
So,
think, well, the best scene in this book, I think we shouldn't skip over it, is when they're all in the office. They've made their way to Ryloth. They get captured. Their lightsabers are taken away, and they're standing there with Nola and the Shistavainen and Krosk and stuff. And Jason decides that the best use of the Force in this in this moment is to pull all the buttons off of the Shistavainen's uniform. So he's like scrambling around on the ground trying to pick them up because he's very into his outfit. Well, the rest of the shit goes down.
there was a moment I was like wondering, like, is Nola Tarkona about to get snoked here? It's like Jason's turning on the lightsaber and spinning it. I'm just like, you will strike down your true enemy. Uh,
And he
but
kills
no, he just
himself.
he just spins it in circles. It's like this is gonna be wizard.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say the scene where Jaina kicks the Shustavanian Wolfman in the snout and like breaks his nose.
Yeah.
Or
It's good
sorry,
too.
not Jaina, Tenelka. Because he's like insulting her for having one arm, which like kind of low. She's just a kid. It's like it reminded me of have you ever seen The Wedding Singer? Where they're
No.
like, "You dumb orphan."
What the fuck?
Like look at the sad orphan. It's like, look at the sad girl with one arm, and then she just like kicks him straight in his face. Like, fuck off, get out of here. Thought that was nice.
Yeah.
That was
One
so
armed
short.
girl is still more useful than a complacent wolfman.
Mm-hmm. That is the old maxim, isn't it?
Yeah. The old Hapen saying.
I do find it funny too how Tachium shows up and like the first thing she does is like, really wish you'd let me get you a new arm. He's just like, this is awful.
Yeah. That comes up like every time Tachum's in the room. I think forever now.
I'm just waiting for her to get brain zapped.
That doesn't happen for a long time. That's in
That's
Legacy of the Force.
legacy, yeah.
Like her and Isolde.
Yeah, I'm from what I remember though, I think she's way before Isolde because I'm pretty sure does Jason do it on the down low? I can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, Isolde is by the time he's like out in the
I think
open.
Isolde's in like the last book maybe because it's like when Jason's on the run, he like decapitates Isolde,
Yeah.
his true father.
Or to him.
Mm.
That way he has long blonde hair all this time.
Yeah.
So Isolde's not that good looking, is he?
He's
Looks
pretty
kind of
hot.
weird.
Nah, he's pretty hot.
He stated as being hot, but like the pictures of him, he looks kind of weird.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just googling. Okay, I googled Isolde, and the one from like the Essential Guide to Characters is not good. But like, if you look up like courtship of Princess Leia, like the cover, isn't there one with him on? Oh yeah, on the back.
Yeah,
He's on the back cover. He
he's
looks pretty hot.
eh,
He kind of looks like a what's the name of the guy with the really long hair again?
Fabio.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a bit of a Fabio. That's kind of how I imagined him.
He has like in all the other pictures, he has a very muscly face, and it's kind of weird.
Well,
Is
I mean,
is
he's
the
no.
Tachum zapping in Dark Nest?
Oh, I didn't think so.
That feels too early, but it could be.
Huh. But doesn't Jason do it? He's not really.
He does, but like Troy Denning already knew what direction he was going with that, and like that was I think around the time that they had the competition or the fan vote to name Jason, like give him his Sith name.
Mm, it might have been because it was after she tries to kidnap Alana, so it might have
Yeah,
been.
yeah,
I can't
that
remember though.
makes sense.
I'm
I
just
don't
too
know.
busy thinking about it, how sexy a soldier is, to be honest.
Hmm.
It's. I mean, like, listen, you gotta be thoughtful because it's like when they're making Star Wars book covers, it's like they got like 6 images of the original trilogy cast to use, and then like stock images of random men. So it's like it's like every like even into like like the Fate of the Jedi series, it's like this. They use the same pictures of like Mark Hamill and like the whole cast. It's like there's like near 60 or 70 now, and it's like, how do we make Mark Hamill look older? Photoshop him with longer hair. That'll do it.
Well, there's like the slick back hair,
I
slicked
kind of like
back
this.
hair,
I kind of like the slick back hair look, to
not
be
slick
honest.
back hair. That's it's gross, but
A pimp named Slickback.
mm,
Never mind. Um, but yeah, I like the slick back hair. That was like the Luke Skywalker looked like he was about to go like go play 20 minutes and score a couple goals for the Penguins or something.
so I really thought when Raynar was getting injured, that was going to be a way to keep him out of this book.
Me too. Yeah.
Like, oh, we're just getting him out of the way early. Nice, but
That's exactly what I thought. It's like, okay, Raynar's injured. They can leave him behind without looking like total dicks. But no, it's like,
yeah.
no,
And I was
he's a
like,
total liability.
yeah, he does. He's not allowed to use a lightsaber yet. So
Yeah.
What use to see? He doesn't get anything useful done in this book. In the other books, he's contributed in some ways, but
Also, I might have read this wrong, but I totally thought that Lusa was coming, and then she's like, "I'm not coming." I don't know. I think I misread that part.
no. Well, she was trying to convince Raynar to stay behind with her, but
I can go hang out with my friends with a broken leg, or snuggle with my topless horse GF.
well, especially when she's going to be hunted down by an assassin. Luke's not there yet. I don't think.
Of
Like
course,
he
she's
was,
not.
because he
Like
always
the
has
fleet
better
in
things
orbit
to
will
do.
watch the kids.
Yeah, Tion's not going to be there either. So like, who's
Like,
actually
Tion's just
there?
so funny. The reason why she leaves. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but it's like there's just something involving a musical instrument she's got to go do.
No,
Do you
so
remember that?
there's so her mission is there's a group of Bith that got mentioned in the first book with the Diversity Alliance that are like Bith musicians that are going to go around and do propaganda in their music for the Diversity
Oh
Alliance.
yeah, right.
And Tion,
I
as
did
a
pick up on
musician
that.
who's not like she's a minstrel basically, and she's
Mhm.
not fully human, so she's going to go join this traveling band of Bith musicians and infiltrate them, which is
It's
even
like
better.
it's really not credible for her to be leaving to do anything else. It's like there's no other way that people will believe that she had to go on a mission unless we can somehow involve music.
But who does that leave to watch the kids? Who's there? No one.
Screed, maybe?
Who?
Is his name Screed, the old
No,
guy?
Streen.
Streen, yeah,
Screed
Streen,
is
sorry.
the one-eyed Imperial warlord.
Yes.
That
No, I
would.
meant Streen.
I'll
Because
watch
I'm
the
pretty
kids for you, Luke.
I like that works for Streen as well.
Yeah, I guess.
Um but I'm pretty sure okay, for one, wouldn't they hate like isn't Tion pretty much human though? Like
She's
doesn't she pretty
mostly
much
human.
pass as human? But I don't know. Like I'm pretty sure Streen takes over in Thrawn duology maybe when Luke goes away.
Yeah.
Or maybe it might be I'm not sure what book it is. We'll figure it out because it's coming up. It might even be Black Fleet Crisis. I'm not sure, but
Like, there's not many people there, and like Raynar is concerned about someone coming for Lusa as well.
mhm.
So just
To be fair though, this is during the peace. Like they're at peace now with the Empire, so maybe he's less worried than he would
well,
otherwise
they
be.
knew the that people would be coming for it, didn't they? That
I
assassins,
don't know.
because that was the information from Tenel Ka or from Tachum, and that was before they
Yeah.
left.
Mhm.
So they were informed that assassins would be going for defectors. Luce is a defector, and Luke's not there.
Math is hard.
So why?
Yeah, and
What am I
Luke's like, he's like, Luke, why'd you leave? He's like, I'm not gonna get into it.
getting?
It's like maybe you should. Like, I'm paying tuition to send my kids here. It's like there's supposed to be a pool. There's supposed to be swimming lessons. I haven't seen it. Where's the football team, Luke?
Do you
You're
accept?
charging $5,000 to tuition. What?
Do you accept author interviews as canon?
Yeah.
He's going to meet up with Mara.
Really? That's what he says?
That's what Kevin J. Anderson always jokes about, and I don't think he's joking.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's his
Whatever
big
it is.
mission.
Okay. That's fine. Does he go bust a nut and leave the children all alone? It's like Mara couldn't come visit, like whatever. He's probably taking her to that asteroid he took Callista to.
Hmm, not good.
No. No, it's not.
Didn't that get eaten?
I
Or
thought the
I think
asteroid
I'm
was
just
fine.
thinking of Crusade.
They just leave, I'm pretty sure, because
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, we're not getting anything done here.
All right. Speaking of not getting anything done here, is there anything else you want to talk about in the book?
No, not really. I still enjoy this one. Like I always enjoy reading these, but definitely bottom tier for me. I think
Yeah.
for not for all Star Wars books, just for these.
Yeah. And like, we've probably spent almost as much time talking about it now as I spent reading it, so it's
Mm-hmm.
really per page. It's still half an hour of discussion for 90 minutes of reading.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I've got a review to read because
Ooh,
so
okay.
a while ago we said that I think it was Crab that I wanted people to work into a review. This one does so. Does it do so well? That's not for me to say. It's from C. Mober, who says whose title is A Great Comfort. And he says, as I crab across the field, this is a great comfort and distraction from the pain from carrying my tenor drums.
Hmm.
So,
If we accept crab as a synonym for scuttle,
sure. Yeah.
all right, we appreciate the effort.
Yeah, that was great. I'm just gonna check to see if there's any more, but I think that's pretty much it.
All right.
I mean, yeah. Do you want to read a couple? As I look, do you want to read a couple of questions? Do we have any?
We do have quite a few emails here because we didn't cover any last week with
Right.
Alex. Uh, did
I'm
we
just gonna look
answer
up
this
reviews as
one
you
the
do this.
last time from Christopher, who asked the dark side throughout the EU, views on the role of the dark side tended to flip flop with each new edition. Some authors like to portray the dark side as a necessary half of the force that needed to coexist in balance with the light. Others like to portray it as an abominable evil that needed to be destroyed. The force only being in balance when there's only light. In your opinion, how do you regard the role of the dark side in the force?
Um, I don't think it's needed to exist. I don't think it needs to exist. Like, I don't think that, like, so there are some people who've argued balance of the force is equal for both, and I don't agree. I think balance of the force is, probably not that, but I do think that the dark side always will exist. Like, that's kind of the whole thing in that section in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, where it's like the darkness is like kind of the base state before you have like the light pushing it away. So yeah, I
State
don't
of
think it
nature.
needs to. Sorry.
The Hobbesian state of nature.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it needs to exist, but it probably always will.
Yeah, like the Force is generally portrayed as something that has a will of its own, and the will of the
Mhm.
Force is typically in some way uh, the advantage of life because life is the Force.
Mhm.
So the if you think about it that way, if you think about that as being like uh, life being the Force, therefore the light side of the Force is kind of like inherently what it's doing. And the Jedi, as the servants of the light side, are essentially just serving the will of the Force. And that's kind of like what Obi-Wan gets portrayed as being the most powerful Jedi. Is that he gives himself over entirely to the Force. Whereas what the dark
Mhm.
side is usually doing is trying to kind of bend the Force, use it for their own personal purposes. So if you think of that as the light and dark side of the Force, then uh, there being no like darksiders would still be balanced because it's the force doing what the force wants without being drawn to other people's desires. And that's kind of how some of the unifying force stuff gets presented as being like a bad thing, where it's back to being more of a tool, in where the Jedi start kind of losing their way again later on. But yeah.
Yeah, oh, I agree. That's a great analysis, I think. And the Star Wars universe does end up being like somewhat self-determined with like the Force in that way. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's kind of easy to write off a lot of what happens to the Force's will. Before we go to the next question, I do have a couple more reviews to read.
All right.
We've got one from Not Nico, who says, for a couple of scruffy nerf herders, these boys do a grand job. Not only do Corey and Justin discuss Star Wars book, they also delve into the greasy underbelly and tough questions of the universe. Was Leia a crappy mother? What are sexy Salonians? Why is it so easy to sneak up on Luke, a Jedi Grand Master, and knock him out? I recommend listening for guaranteed fun with guests, thought-provoking takes, and random references to the mysterious sexy Charlie. So that was from Not Nico. Thank you very much. Then we also had one more from Jay Raston, who says, as fun as a Wookiee is hairy, like many others, I have been disappointed by the fact that for a long time there were no podcasts focusing on Star Wars. Finally, this problem has been remedied with Tapcaf Transmissions, the first and only Star Wars podcast on the market. These hosts do a great job running through Star Wars legends with occasional dips into Disney continuity and Canadian life. That's another appreciation of Canadiana there. Listening to them helped make the Callisto trilogy slightly more bearable, and that's no small feat. So thank you very much to Jay Raston and Not Nico. Guys, please leave reviews. 5-star reviews for the podcast really helps out, and I will read them out. Let's
They
get
make
into the
us so
question.
happy it makes Regina look like Saskatoon.
I don't even know if that's good or bad.
I do, before we get to the next question, I do want to address A comment from chat here from Dark Lord Revenue says, if life's the light side of the Force, then dark side must be death. Therefore, dark side is a necessary part of the universe. That's not quite the analogy I was making there. It's not like life versus death. It's the will of the Force versus bending the Force towards your will. So often that does mean Darksiders use it as a tool to kill people, but it's not the death part itself that's the problem there, because death is part of life in the Force. Like, I'm including that and kind of the light side, which is why for the Jedi a lot of the time, like, dying in and of itself is not necessarily a problem. Like, you become one with the Force in the conception of how the Force works in Star Wars and how life and death works in Star Wars.
Yep.
And that's why Luke hates droids. They're not part of the Force. Some problematic views coming from that one, but
Hateful, even.
he is. Our next question comes from Wyatt, who says, hope y'all are having a wonderful day. My question relates to the strategic minds in Star Wars. Specifically, where would you put Revan on this list? We know from the lore that he was great. He was a great general and strategist during the Mandalorian Wars, but I don't know the specifics. The Old Republic novels are what really brought me to Star Wars last year, and I've been in love with them ever since. Can't wait for you guys to cover the series. What do you think?
So he's
Revan as
asking
a
where he
strategist.
ranks, like among all time,
Yeah.
like strategists. He's up there. I mean, it's like him and Malik. What they do is pretty crazy. Like I'm pretty low on information. I just kind of remember them kind of going out and causing like the Jedi, or they basically win the Mandalorian Wars kind of on their own, right? Then he does the Jedi Civil War. But I mean, it's hard to say. It's always hard to compare because like for me, I think of like when I think of a great strategist, I think of like Jason, like a great Force strategist, Jason, because he's got that kind of like battle meditation, like the next level battle
Yeah.
meditation where he can like see the flows not only in battle but like throughout the whole war. I don't think that Revan is ever said to have any sort of battle meditation or anything like that.
Yeah. Like, Bastila was
Mhm,
more known for that.
mhm.
I think with
Yeah,
Revan, it's usually less his like tactical mind that gets praised compared to just his charisma as a leader and an individual, like making people follow him, whether it's good or bad for them.
mhm.
And because like from what I remember, a lot of the battles he's in, he just kind of like throws people at the problem. But the people are super willing to follow him into the problem. So like, I
Yeah.
don't think he's a terrible strategist, but I don't think he's like quite at the top tier level. And it's more his ability as a leader.
That's the whole thing with like the Jedi Civil War, right? Because he brings so many Jedi with him, like because he was such a hero.
Yeah.
That is the name of the conflict, right? The Jedi Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, we'll probably have better opinions once we reread those books
Yeah.
eventually. I don't think I've ever read all of them, so
No,
yeah.
I definitely haven't. Um,
Oh, speaking of, we should mention we're doing Shatterpoint next week.
that is
Next week?
correct. Nah, yeah,
Yeah.
next week.
Okay.
Unless something else is coming out, I don't think there is anything. But
No, I don't think so.
we'll definitely do a Bad Batch episode once the season's over, because we did kind
Mhm.
of stop the individual episodes for, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, our next
Like
email,
we wouldn't have done a like if Clone Wars were on, except for maybe the last season, we wouldn't have done a weekly episode for that. It's not like the Mandalorian where there's 8 episodes a season.
yeah, and especially
Not that the
just
Bad
trying
Batch
to
is bad. I really like the
have,
Bad Batch.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially when we occasionally, or like you do a review for every episode, I think, and I do for some
Mhm.
when I feel
Yeah.
like I have something to say. But
Yep.
uh, next email comes from Jack, who says, I've been reading the New Jedi Order, and occasionally dialogue and lines just take me out of the book. The one line from Mara Jade where she says to Luke, oh, husband mine, just throws me off. I was wondering what lines you guys have that throw you off or make you laugh that aren't intentional.
Yeah, Mara has some of that, I find. Like when her and Luke get together, like
She gets
she
very
loses a bit of her
saccharine very
spunk.
quickly.
Yeah. For me, like the thing that takes me out more than any really silly lines, because there's not really any that come to mind except when you have like the certain Timothy Zahn lines, like sardonically or warbled or whatever. Um, the thing that more takes me out is when we get weird references to like things in the real world. Um,
Yeah.
like I think there was like a Star Wars book that used like Machiavellian, which is just like
Yeah.
really weird. Um, my friend Kevin, uh, Kevin Corey, messaged me the other day about something. I'm trying to remember what it was in. I was just trying to find it. It was draconian. Like they use draconian in the Bad Batch, and I believe that's based on Draco's laws. So it's like things like that take me more out. But like my explanation for that is, I think it's just like Star Wars is this is just the retelling of the story meant to be understood by us. So
Yeah. And like see you in hell from Han Solo and Empire at
yeah,
War all the time.
yeah, yeah. Or even in the movie, yeah. That was one of my first videos. Why does he say that? But yeah, um,
Because George Lucas is from Earth.
yeah. That's like in the like, have a kind of funny explanation for that in the Halo universe, where like when you're reading the terminals in Halo 3, they call like the big forerunner defense against the flood the Maginot Line, like the Maginot Line in real life. And there's even like an explanation in the game. It's like we're using terms that you'll understand,
Hmm,
if
that
that makes
works.
sense. Yeah.
Our next email, Justin is back with another question, and
Nice.
you need to stop emailing in. You're on the show right now, Justin. You can ask me whatever you want. But Justin's asking question about EAW. How do you think Dalla would lose? How do you think Dalla would lose the Eclipse, given how it seems Dalla almost always loses the most powerful ship she has during any engagement with the New Republic? Also ask this because I just put Dalla in charge of my fleet that has the Eclipse in it, and I'm just waiting for a random galaxy gun to spawn in front while I'm deploying it.
How would she lose the eclipse? I think she'd get it like stuck in a black hole or a gravity well or something. Like she wouldn't understand. Like she'd be trying to like reverse it out. She'd be like reverse the eclipse, Terry, and like she'd like get it stuck on a lamp pole or something, and it would be she'd pass the event horizon and somehow manage to, despite that fact, shoot a escape pod out with just her body in it.
And then she'll get elected the Galactic Leader. So
Hmm.
I think Dorsk 97 will just fling it into a sun or something. Like, keep it simple, keep it traditional.
Yeah.
Then he asked, if EAW2 was announced, who would you want to develop it aside from Petroglyph? So
I
Empire
don't
War being
really
the
know enough
last.
about game studios.
Yeah. I'd love to
Um,
have like a Paradox style Star Wars game,
yeah,
but I don't know
but not
what
for
that would even look
EAW.
like. Yeah.
That's like strategy. That's grand strategy. I want tactics.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't know the other players in the game. Maybe like the only other people I can think about would be like,
Relic.
is that Microsoft Game Studios now? Like Age of
Yeah, like
Empires guys.
well,
Yeah.
there's also like they make Homeworld and
Mhm.
I think
Oh
they did
yeah,
Company of
yeah.
Heroes as well. That was Relic. So all
Hmm.
good games, all good strategy games.
I'd honestly probably prefer like one of the. There's lots of like smaller dev studios making like cool sci-fi games right now. Probably be better for one of them to handle it, to be
Yeah.
honest, and open it up to modding.
There are a few other questions about like Empire War directly. So if you want to ask those like mod questions on a more mod related thing, I won't subject all the other listeners who don't know what Thrawn's Revenge is to me discussing game mechanics.
Hmm.
But a final question that's very important to me is what do you, as a person who has recently been forced to have facial hair, feel is the most annoying part of facial hair? For me, it's smelling the food that you just ate on it the rest of the day until you eat something else. I mean, I haven't smelled anything that I've eaten on my hair. Like, I don't know if that's the hair itself, but maybe if there's like liquid or something in it. But
Soup can be harder to eat. Like if you get like, for me with my mustache gets really long. It's like, for one, it goes in my mouth, so like I can chew my mustache hairs, which can get really annoying. Yeah.
everything just gets so pokey, and I don't like it, and I just want it gone. It's all sharp and just, I don't know. I hate it. I want it gone. It's awful. I hate feeling it. I hate the like I've got little abrasions on this side of my mouth because the hair's rubbing against it. The
Hmm.
ends just poke it, and I don't like it's getting worse the longer it gets because everyone's saying, "Oh, it'll be itchy for a little bit," but I didn't have an itchy period. I just have a really coarse hairs, I guess, and they're stabbing my face. Don't like it. Want it gone.
Way she goes. Way she goes.
One more week.
Unless it gets extended. Oh no, we said we aren't doing that, right?
No, we did. It's just you disagreed with me on how that would add up, but I
You
mapped
mean
it
I
out.
yelled at you? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you did on stream. It was mean.
I remember.
Uh,
Yeah, I remember.
Next question from Joel, who asks about the High Republic. Do you think the High Republic could be considered this generation's Star Wars 2003 to 2005 multimedia project minus a movie? Although Acolyte might be the Revenge of the Sith for this particular series. I think,
Not quite. Just because the minus the movie is a big thing, where like the High Republic is built around the expanded universe material. At the end of the day, the 2003 to 2006 period, which I've been like kind of oddly nostalgic for recently, maybe because I'm reading Shatterpoint, was based on the Clone Wars, like this massive uh, thing that came from the movie. First of all, and the movie anchored it all, and that alone gives it like I think a higher level of prestige. Like the Xbox launched with a Clone Wars video game, which is kind of crazy, or at least it was very near launch. And we saw like probably 5 games set in that era, and like it's not quite up to that scale in my opinion. But it's also not as small as something like Shadows of the Empire, in my opinion, or certainly not like The Force Unleashed, um, which were based on video games, but we're not nearly as kind of we're not as relevant for as long. Yeah.
I can see some definite parallels, but I think
Hmm.
it might be somewhere between a Clone Wars multimedia project and a New Jedi Order kind of situation.
Mm, yeah, I agree.
Because like, yeah, you get the shows and everything, but you don't have the movie starting and closing it that
Yeah,
the
which is
multimedia
big. Like the
project
movies
had.
are huge. The movies are
Yeah,
the biggest thing that happens in Star Wars, and it's like not even close. It's like the movies are 10 times more popular than the most second most popular thing.
yeah, and like it does leave it a bit more free than the multimedia project would have been, where like
Hmm.
that was entirely to bridge these two things, whereas the High Republic is a lot more like the NJO, where it is kind of free to do what it wants, though it is leading up to Acolyte. But that's coming later, and it's not two things that have to make sense without everything in the middle. Like you have to be able to watch episode 2 and 3 without knowing what happens in the Clone Wars multimedia project materials, whether that's the
Yeah,
show or the books. And like they help fill in some gaps, and they're a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, there's only so much that can be impacted. Like they're not going to kill Yoda off between episode 2 and 3. They'll only do that to like I don't know, even Peel or something. Well, he got killed
yeah,
later on, but all the Jedi counselors had some interesting adventure.
yeah. Um, I'm actually like I'm not even sure how much the Acolyte is going to play into the other High Republic stuff.
Yeah, it's
Like
the
for
end of the
me, I
period, but it's
yeah,
150 years later, probably.
for me, I feel like the only reason it's getting labeled as being in the High Republic is because it's technically like I think they probably figured they wanted to set it 150 or whatever years, however many years it is before the original. It's not even that many. How do you know how far it is before the original or the prequel trilogy?
I think it's like 50 years.
Yeah, so I
Not
think they
100% sure.
probably had a reason that they wanted to set it 50 years, probably because of some Sith stuff. And then it just so happened that someone was like, "Yeah, that's also during the High Republic era." But I'm not really convinced the High Republic books are really going to affect the show that much.
Yeah,
That's me being kind of cynical, but that's just kind of what my experience has been.
yeah, that's fair. We have questions from Austin. Oh, that's Shatterpoint, so that's for next week. And our final email tonight then comes from Joel, who says, how accessible is new canon to readers compared to Legends? Personally, I think at the very least, Post Endor era is the hardest to get through since it feels that the Thrawn trilogy really is the only good jumping on point to not feel confused. I wonder if new canon has done a better job of having more jumping on points. Curious to hear your thoughts.
Hmm. It's hard to say because there's been so much of the new canon that's just kind of been tie and stuff. Like a lot of the like there weren't that many original stories that came out before the sequels were done. Like we got a couple. We got like Alphabet Squadron, I guess, but like that's kind of a self-contained minor story. But like when you're reading like Bloodlines or like those are all labeled as like Journey to whichever book, whichever movie. Like Aftermath was Journey to the Force Awakens, um, or Bloodline I think was Journey to the Last Jedi. So it's like, and then Allegiance or whatever the book was called, or
Yeah.
whatever the one before episode 9. So I don't know. Like I think there's a lot more that's like you can, as long as you kind of know the movies, you'll be able to understand it pretty easily. Like there haven't been that many big trilogies that build off each other. Like there's the Aftermath trilogy, but like if you don't read that, there's not going to be that much you don't understand in other books.
Yeah. And in Legends, I think it was kind of similar in terms of accessibility up until the Yuuzhan Vong War. Like New Jedi Order was kind of the
Hmm.
first thing where you had to know a good chunk of what happened before to understand who the people were. I think it's still like it all does a relatively good job of like setting up what's happened. It's more difficult to get into like Dark Nest and Legacy of the Force and stuff without having read NJO. But like if you're looking at anything in the post Endor period of Legends or canon, a lot of it was kind of written simultaneously to not rely on each other. Um,
Hmm.
like the Thrawn trilogy and X-Wing, while they have some events that are like built off of each other, the X-Wing books are before the Thrawn trilogy, but they were written afterwards to kind of explain stuff that had been said to have happened. So the Thrawn trilogy books weren't written with the understanding that like you needed to know what happens in X-Wing. The only
Hmm.
exceptions to that are like kind of the direct sequels by the same author. Or like you
Yeah.
should read the X-Wing books in order if you're going to read them. You should read the Thrawn Hand of Thrawn duology after the Thrawn trilogy if you're going to read them, and like
Hmm.
Timothy Zahn's books together. But in a lot of cases, the expanded universe is more a collection of individual authors' expanded universes. So when in new canon we're still at like the first or second book that's being written by someone, aside from projects like High Republic, which have multiple people on board from the start, they aren't going to be super interreliant. They do kind of like fill in background information, but no matter which universe you're kind of going into, if you've seen the movies, you generally have all the onboarding information available to you.
Yeah, because they're always playing that game where, like, for one, Star Wars had a leak problem lately, um, especially with Episode 9 and 7. So it's like they've been really cautious about not getting stuff out to authors beforehand, which is kind of unfortunate because like we saw that the episode 9 books that come before don't really pay off like a whole lot. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is stuff, but that's kind of a weakness. But on the other hand, it's like even if like that wasn't the case, they're never going to make the vast majority of people have an excuse not to go to a Star Wars movie. They're never going to make people feel like I would go to this movie, but I didn't read the books, or like I feel like I'm not going to understand because the vast majority of people just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So it's like they're always kind of on a careful tightrope where like the books distant second in terms of like profitability and like the time they spend and investment and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, like that's why we're never going to get the film adaptation of Dark Nest.
that's why.
Yeah, one reason.
Mhm.
They also don't have the CGI budget for that many bug orgies.
Yeah, are those big stick ships or whatever, the
Yeah.
nest ships.
All right. Well, any closing thoughts for you as we head
Nope.
off to do Bureau Card in 20 minutes?
No, Shatterpoint is good. I've been enjoying it, so hopefully you guys will read it and join with us. Um,
That's another Swarm War reference right there.
was it?
Joiners, join with
Oh,
us.
fuck's
You
sake!
say
I'm
you
not
hate
on.
it, but it's your favorite. It's clearly
I
your
I
favorite
don't
book.
hate it. I don't hate it. I just it's a little goofy, but
Well,
yeah.
you make sure that you maintain that line of thought when Troy Denning is our guest for the entire Dark Nest trilogy.
Okay.
All right.
All
Thanks
right.
for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. Remember to leave a review with the keyword gelatin.
Uh, what is it? What did you say?
Gelatin.
Let's do it. Let's do a dark nest keyword. Um,
Well, I was pulling that from Dark Nest, just gel.
how about
GEL.
just how about just bugs?
Fine. We'll go with the obvious
If you
one.
want gelatin, that's fine. Okay,
No, we're
gelatin.
Joe. Leave a review with bugs, and also call Justin mean in it.
Okay. It bugs me how mean Justin is. There you go.
Well,
All right.
Bureau Card on X2 in 20 minutes.